Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today's video is going to be a review of this Rado D-Star 200 dive watch. This is a Swiss watch from the Swatch Group. It's not mine. This was loaned to me by a friend of mine, Tony. So big thanks to you, Tony. I really appreciate you letting me spend some time with this beautiful diver. I've really enjoyed it. The watch is full of really cool details that aren't readily apparent at first, but as you spend some time with the watch, as you look at it closely, they kind of come to the forefront and just make this a really enjoyable watch to use. It's really unique. I love the case shape. You have kind of an oval shape to the case, kind of an oblong form, and you'll notice it's polished, and there's some really interesting facets in the way that the integrated bracelet kind of ties in with that case. Just makes a really cool, unique form, and I enjoy that. It plays well with the ceramic bezel insert that's a lot more narrow than you normally see in a bezel. I end up just really enjoying the aesthetic. It's more of a dressy diver as opposed to a tool diver, especially with all the polished surfaces, but ends up being very dynamic and very nice to look at. If we look at the dial, you'll notice beautiful sunburst, radial sunburst blue. In some lights it almost appears black or like a really deep navy. And then if you get it in the right light, you notice that vivid blue, and it just comes to play in the different light, and it's fun. It really looks sharp. It doesn't look as great under these artificial lights here in my house, but out in the sun, this thing is a real beautiful dial. Now, you'll notice the minute track around the outside of the dial. You see, you've got your minutes, and then you've got micro markings in between those minute marks or those hashes. And what's cool is those markings are actually printed on a 3D concentric circle texture. You won't notice it from far away, but again, as you get up close, you'll notice that. And it's a fun little detail. In this watch, it's full of those little surprises that just put a smile on your face. If you look at the printing that says Rado up there under the 12 o'clock marker, kind of looks white from here. You get up close, you'll notice there's kind of some, it's kind of a raised printing. You can see some dimension to it. And you'll also notice there's a little bit of reflectance in area. So it's kind of like a, how would you say it? Kind of like a diamond dust printing, and really pretty, Does play with the light a little bit better than just flat white printing. Your logo that's just above it is in the form of a rotor or an anchor. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It does match the form of, an automatic rotor pretty well. And also, I thought this was kind of funny. I'm a Star Wars fan, like many people, and to me, it kind of looks like the Rebel Alliance form, that kind of that anchor. So, kind of cool there. I know it's totally coincidental and not related, but just kind of interesting. Your hands and markers are going to be filled with Superluminova BGW9. So it has that nice greenish blue glow at night, and it does last longer than standard Superluminova. Apart from, the lume in those polished applied indices and those beveled hands, you'll also see an infill of a blue enamel, which is really cool. It doesn't match the dial per se, but it matches really well with that navy ceramic bezel insert. So nice symmetry in those areas. If you look at the crystal, there is a cyclops over the date aperture. But another detail that I find really interesting is, if you notice, it doesn't breach the top of that domed sapphire crystal. So it's integrated in the crystal, and it does a nice job of magnifying the date. I do appreciate that detail. Again, it makes it kind of an enjoyable feature that's fairly uncommon. Let me show you the action of the bezel. It is a 60 click bezel. And there is just a small amount of back play, but overall it's a nice bezel action. I'm satisfied. It's pretty nice. The only downfall is because of that kind of oval shape to the case, you really can only grip it nicely at the 3 and the 9 o'clock position to get smooth action there. The movement inside this watch is Rado's version of the ETA 2824. It is you can see it behind this display case back, and there is a factory sticker on there that's partially obscuring it. but it's a very nice execution of the 2824. It's the top grade. So you do get blued screws, you get Cotes de Genève, you get some nice Geneva striping, and as a nice, I guess, surprise, I didn't know it had this, but it has an instantaneous date change feature at midnight. So when your minute hand, your second hand cross midnight, that just snaps forward. And you don't see that very often. I know Rolex does it on all of their date feature watches. Tissot does it on their Viso dates, but it's not a common feature, and it's a pleasant surprise to see it here on this Rado. Now let's talk about the bracelet to wrap up here. We have kind of an oyster style, slightly tapering bracelet. What's interesting is your center link has the satin finish, and the side portions of the link are the polished sections. So kind of opposite on what you normally see on a diver or on a bracelet, but it's a nice aesthetic. And the bracelet's hefty and it has a good drape to it. It is held together by pins and collars, no screw link, and your clasp here is a butterfly style push button deployant, and everything on this portion of the clasp is actually milled titanium, which is interesting because the rest of the watch is stainless steel, but your clasp here is titanium, so it's a little bit lighter weight. And another kind of interesting feature is you have an opening extension here that forms kind of a quasi butterfly style, and it's held in place by a ceramic ball bearing detent that is on this side of that opening. So again, a nice feature, kind of a pleasant surprise, something that you see on higher end watches like Tudors and Pateks. It's on some Omegas, but I'm glad to see it here on this watch. Now let's talk about the negatives. I've kind of talked it up. I've told you about how beautiful it is, how nicely executed it is, how many fun details it has, but there are some downfalls. Now, the big one for me is going to be the application of the AR coating. Rado says that they use it on the underside of this sapphire crystal, and if they do, you can see it's not a very good application. There is a lot of reflection going on here. And I understand how that works with this watch, being a more dressy diver, with more polished surfaces and a gloss ceramic bezel insert. So the little bit of play on the light is a beautiful feature, but it does kind of, it could be, I would prefer to have a good application of 2 layers of anti-reflective coating on that crystal, so you can see those beautiful dial details without any haze or reflections. The last negative point in my eyes is going to be your crown operation. It's a nice signed crown, and while it's screwed in, it's really kind of recessed in this interesting case, so it doesn't dig into your wrist while you're wearing it. It's very practical, but if you want to hack the movement or hand wind it, it's a little bit hard, especially if you've got larger fingers like I do, to grip and to unscrew and to operate the crown. So it's a little annoying. I understand it's comfortable and practical, but if you're using your crown on a regular basis, I think that could get cumbersome. So to wrap up, I think it's a really compelling offering. I really have enjoyed my time with it. I think it's a gorgeous watch. There's nice features. This particular one is running at +7 seconds per day. It has a great execution of a very trusty, long movement, been in production for a long time. I like the ceramic bezel. I like the way it looks on the wrist. I like how unique it is and all those little details that we talked about. It's a great watch. It does have some drawbacks, but on the whole, very compelling. Now, I've got another watch here you may have noticed. I've got a beautiful Omega Seamaster 300 that is that's on loan to me right now at the moment. And I wanted to show the two side by side as we close the video, because they're both from the Swatch Group. Rado is owned by the Swatch Group. It's in the high tier, so it is comparable to Longines, but it's just below the luxury and prestige line that Omega is a part of. But it's nice to see the two side by side. You can see there's not a huge level of difference between the two when it comes to quality and execution. Yes, there is a marked difference. The Omega does have finer execution. It does have a finer movement. On the whole, it's a much better watch. But bear in mind, this is a $4,000 watch. This Rado you can find for under $1,000. So is the Seamaster 300 4 times the watch of the Rado? I will let you decide, where, what point do you start getting diminishing returns? It's really interesting to see the two. You do have a domed sapphire crystal on both. You do have ceramic bezels. You do have a lot of polish on both of the bracelets and case. You do have both display case backs. Yeah, the Omega is definitely nicer. I'm not trying to say that it's not. I'm just trying to point out this Rado really packs a good punch for its price point. So just to end the video, my friend Tony, again, thank you so much. This is a sweet watch. I really appreciate you letting me spend some time with it. It's been great. And to everyone watching, if you really like this Rado and you want to buy it, Tony, my friend Tony, he has been bitten by the Seiko bug. So he is lost to the wonder that is fine Japanese watchmaking. And he's got a great collection of Grand Seiko and Marine Master and Tuna and Monster. So he is totally content with his Japanese watches and can be persuaded to part with this really interesting and unique Rado. So if you're interested, he's looking for around $800. Please shoot me an email at watchbw@gmail.com and we can talk a little bit more. I can send you pictures and whatnot. This is a really cool example. It won't last long. This is a fun watch, high quality watch, and it does come complete with your box and your warranty card and your papers and whatnot. It's a really prime example. So let me know if you're interested in that. If you're not, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.